Welcome to Fairy Tale Nights, where magic and mystery come to life as you drift off into a world of wonder. I'm so glad you've joined us tonight. Here, under the blanket of twilight, we invite you to leave the worries of the day behind and journey with us into a land where anything is possible and every story is woven with enchantment. Tonight's tale is one of ancient forests, forgotten magic, and choices that shape destinies. The Tower of Secrets, Elira's journey into the Wilderwood. A young woman named Elira sets out on a journey beyond the familiar, deep into the heart of the mysterious Wilderwood, where a long-lost sorceress awaits. What secrets will she uncover, and what will she discover about herself? Once upon a time, in a land where mountains kissed the sky and rivers whispered ancient secrets, there was a kingdom called Elira. The people of Elira were known far and wide for their contentment. Their villages were nestled between rolling hills, their crops plentiful, and their ruler, King Aldor, was a wise and just man. Yet, like all places touched by time, even Elira had its share of mysteries. Far beyond the kingdom, where the forests grew thick and wild, lay a forbidden stretch of land known as the Wilderwood. It was said that the trees there could move on their own, shifting their great, gnarled trunks to block paths or hide secrets. In the deepest part of this forest, there was a clearing, and in that clearing stood a lone tower abandoned, crumbling, and said to be cursed. No one dared approach it, for legend claimed that the tower once belonged to a sorceress who had vanished many years ago under strange circumstances. The sorceress, Amara, had been a guardian of knowledge and magic. She was neither cruel nor kind, but her power was unmatched. She had disappeared one cold autumn night, leaving behind only whispers of her final spell, a spell that would ensure no one could ever take her place. The tower had been sealed ever since, locked by magic that none could unravel, and as time passed, it became more of a shadowy myth than a real place. Elira had no need for magic anymore, the people said. They had their king, their land, and their peaceful lives. But not everyone in Elira was content. At the edge of the kingdom, there lived a young woman named Elira. Elira had always been different. While the other villagers were satisfied with their quiet lives, Elira yearned for more. She was restless, often gazing out toward the distant Wilderwood, wondering what secrets lay within its dark heart. As a child, she had heard stories of the sorceress and her tower, and something about the tale had always stirred something deep within her. The mystery called to her, pulling at her thoughts like the tide pulls the shore. Elira's life was one of routine. She worked as a healer, tending to the sick and injured, her hands deft and knowledgeable with herbs and poultices. She had learned the craft from her mother, who had passed away some years ago. But no matter how much good she did for her village, Elira could not shake the feeling that she was meant for something more, something beyond the life she was living. One autumn evening, as she was returning home from the market, Elira saw something strange. A raven larger than any bird she had ever seen perched on the roof of her cottage. Its feathers were so dark, they seemed to drink in the fading light of the setting sun. It cocked its head to one side, fixing her with a gaze that felt unnervingly intelligent. "Strange bird," Elira muttered to herself. But as she turned to unlock her door, the raven let out a cry, harsh and clear. Startled, she looked up again, and the raven took flight, soaring into the sky before disappearing in the direction of the Wilderwood. That night, Elira dreamed. She was standing in the middle of the Wilderwood, the trees towering over her, their branches twisted and thick like the fingers of ancient giants. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and moss, and though the forest was dark, a strange light glowed ahead. She followed it, her feet moving of their own accord, until she found herself standing before the tower. It was taller than she had imagined, its stone walls cracked and worn, ivy curling around its base like a serpent. The door was old wood, reinforced with iron, but it was slightly ajar. Elira felt her heart race. She reached out to push the door open, and as she did, a voice echoed in her mind, a voice soft as silk but sharp as a blade. "Come find me." Elira awoke with a start, her heart pounding in her chest. The dream had been so vivid, so real. She could still smell the forest, feel the cool air on her skin. The voice echoed in her mind, lingering like an unfinished thought. She tried to shake it off, to go about her day as usual, but the dream haunted her. Days passed, and yet she could not stop thinking about the tower, about the voice. What if it wasn't just a dream? What if the sorceress Amara was still out there, waiting for someone to find her? It was foolish. The stuff of fairy tales. But the thought refused to leave her alone. One crisp morning, just as the first frost had begun to settle over the land, Elira made a decision. She packed a small bag with food, water, and a few essential herbs, and set out toward the Wilderwood. The journey was long and treacherous. The deeper Elira ventured into the forest, the darker it became. The trees grew taller and denser, their branches interwoven like a maze. The ground was uneven, covered in roots and thick patches of undergrowth. Strange sounds filled the air, creaking branches, rustling leaves, and the occasional distant growl. But Elira pressed on, driven by an instinct she couldn't quite explain. After 2 days of travel, she finally reached the clearing from her dream. The tower stood before her, just as she had seen it in her sleep. The door was still ajar, as if inviting her in. Elira hesitated for only a moment before stepping inside. The air within was cold, musty, and filled with the scent of old stone and forgotten magic. A spiral staircase wound its way up the tower, disappearing into darkness above. Elira felt a strange pull, as if the very air around her was urging her to climb. As she ascended, she began to notice strange things. The walls were etched with symbols, runes she didn't recognize, though they seemed to hum faintly with power. Candles that should have long since burned out still flickered in alcoves, their flames steady despite the draft that whistled through the cracks in the stone. When she finally reached the top of the tower, Elira found herself in a circular chamber. At the center of the room was a large, ornate mirror, its frame carved from silver and inlaid with gemstones that glittered in the dim light. The surface of the mirror shimmered, as if made of liquid rather than glass. And then she saw her, standing on the other side of the mirror, as if it were a window, was the sorceress, Amara. Amara looked exactly as she had been described in the stories tall, with long, flowing black hair and piercing green eyes. She wore a gown of deep crimson, and her expression was calm, almost serene. But there was something unsettling about her gaze, something that made Elira's skin prickle. "So, you've come," Amara said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "I've been waiting." Elira felt her mouth go dry. "Waiting for me?" Amara nodded slowly. "For someone like you, someone curious, someone who still believes in the power of the unknown." Elira took a cautious step forward. "What happened to you? Why did you disappear?" A shadow passed over Amara's face, and for the briefest moment, Elira saw something flicker in the sorceress's eyes: regret, perhaps, or sorrow. "I made a mistake," Amara said softly. "A mistake I've been paying for ever since." "What kind of mistake?" Elira asked, her curiosity piqued. Amara gestured to the mirror. "This. I sought power beyond what I should have. I wanted to understand the nature of time, of reality itself. But the magic I used was too strong, too dangerous. It trapped me here, within the mirror, a prison of my own making." Elira's heart ached with a strange kind of sympathy. She had always been drawn to the unknown, to the mysteries of the world, and she could understand the temptation that had led Amara to this fate. "Is there a way to free you?" she asked. Amara's eyes gleamed. "Perhaps, but it comes with a price." Elira felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of price?" The sorceress smiled, but it was a smile without warmth. "If you free me, I will take your place. The magic requires a soul to bind it. One must remain in the mirror while the other is free." Elira's breath caught in her throat. The weight of Amara's words settled over her like a heavy cloak. To free the sorceress, she would have to sacrifice her own freedom, her own life. I can't do that," Elira whispered, stepping back. Amara's expression darkened. "You came here seeking answers, did you not? You came because you felt the pull of destiny, because you wanted more than the simple life you've been living. I can give you more, so much more. Power, knowledge, everything you've ever wanted. All you have to do is set me free." Elira shook her head, her mind racing. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Amara said sharply. "The magic is absolute." For a long moment, Elira stood in silence, her heart pounding in her chest. She had come so far, driven by curiosity and a yearning for something greater. But now that she stood on the precipice of it, she realized the cost was too high. She couldn't trade her life for power, for knowledge. It wasn't worth it. "I'm sorry," Elira said quietly. "I can't help you." Amara's eyes blazed with anger. "Then you will regret this for the rest of your life. You will live in the shadow of what could have been, forever haunted by your weakness." Elira turned and fled down the stairs, her heart heavy with the weight of the decision she had made. As she stepped out of the tower, the door slammed shut behind her, sealing with a sound like thunder. The forest around her seemed darker, the trees more menacing, but Elira didn't stop. She ran through the Wilderwood, the path before her shifting and twisting, until she finally emerged into the light of day. Years passed, and Elira never spoke of what had happened in the tower. She returned to her village, resumed her life as a healer, and tried to forget the sorceress's words. But the memory lingered, a faint echo in the back of her mind. Sometimes, late at night, she would hear the call of the Wilderwood, and the voice of Amara would whisper in her dreams. Yet despite the temptation, Elira never returned to the tower. She had made her choice, and she would live with it. She knew that true power came not from magic or knowledge, but from the strength to walk away from it. And in that, she found her peace. For though the world is full of mystery and wonder, there are some doors that are better left unopened, and some paths that are better left untraveled. Thank you, dear dreamers, for joining us tonight on Fairytale Nights. We hope Elira's journey through the Wilderwood brought a touch of magic to your evening. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us bring more enchanting tales to life, and we're deeply grateful for it. Now, as you drift into sleep, may your dreams be filled with wonder and peace. We'll see you again soon for another magical adventure. Keep listening to the relaxing music to fall into a deep sleep. Sweet dreams and good night.